We have a very specific culture at Reason that does not exist at many CrossFit gyms, right? Why? Because we work very, very hard to protect it. I don't want like douchebags at our gym. And it's like, if you think about it, like, we don't have any. When's the last time you went to a gym and you didn't see a douchebag at a gym? Like it's like synonymous in fitness, right?
Coach Miguel here,
Coach Drew here, and you're listening to the Finding Reason podcast,
where we focus on the 5 factors of health: nutrition, sleep, movement, mindset, and connection.
Enjoy.
Have you always been fit? And what inspired you to live a fit lifestyle?
No, I have not always been fit. PE was the worst nightmare. Hated sports, just hated it, and realized that, and I'm still not very athletic. I'm not very coordinated, I would say.
Yeah. So the last thing that you kind of said was you originally, like, fitness for you was associated or correlated to wanting to lose weight or fit a certain body type or feel like skinnier, right? And then you said after Finn, you joined Reason, and then your view of what it meant to be healthy started to shift or change.
Yeah. Yes.
What can you kind of walk me through what does that sound like? What does that mean?
Yeah. For me, it wasn't like a workout to get it done anymore. It was something that was like enjoyable because I could see little like improvements here and there. And it was something that like I feel like really just belonged to myself. I think I go through, I don't know if like other people go through that, but as a mom, you kind of go through this phase where you're struggling to find who you are after you have kids, because you're like, am I just a mom? Am I defined by my career? Whereas when you're younger, you don't necessarily go through that as much because you have so much free time that you're able to fill up that fulfills you as an individual, right? So as a mom, you're like, I don't have that free time anymore. So you have to be really thoughtful about how you dedicate your free time and how you carve out that time for yourself. And I realized that for me, like, fitness was a way for me to carve out that time for myself.
It sounds like there was a big like identity shift when you went into like motherhood. Yeah. That's something that Diana always says, that she feels like, because like I would say that I feel like I'm a pretty intentional father. Like, and this isn't like, I'm not trying to play a comparison game or anything like that, but like, I feel like I try very hard, right? Like I'm very actively involved in my kids' lives, and that isn't always like, especially like the Asian male father narrative. So you kind of just like, well, my job is to go to work, and it's like, dude, nowadays both work, like both parents are working parents. So like that's not a fair argument, and it's like even Diana's like quitting her job actually in after this one, or she's going to 1 day a week, and I'm like, hey, you still work. Just know that like we've chosen that this is what's best for our family. It doesn't mean that like you don't work. Like we're still both contributing, and that doesn't get me away from being a responsible or a present dad. But I think that's really tough for moms. I think moms, like, you brewed the baby, you created a home. It's like that connection like is something that we like. We'll never feel,
and it's you still need to carve out that time that makes you who you are, like, and if all your spare time is spent just like watching TV or scrolling your phone, you're still missing that element of who are you apart from being, this, whatever your full-time role is defined as, and then whatever your mom role is defined as, like, who else are you, right? And I think that piece is like really crucial.
Yeah, cool. That's really helpful to hear. I'm reading the notes. I put P was my worst nightmare. That sounds like my mom.
P was my worst nightmare. I hated it. I was also a really like big kid, so I was like, it was just one of those things. I hated it, especially swim. I hated swim.
That's funny. Let's go through kind of like your phases of pregnancy with Zoe. So how do you feel like, at the point at which you had Zoe, like how many years had you been with us?
2.
Like, I was gonna say like a little less than 2, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel like, so how did you feel like as you knew you were pregnant, And then once you knew you're pregnant, how did your training change over the course of like that, not much really changes the first 3 months, right? At all, right? It's pretty much exactly the same. But from month 3 to, week 40, I don't know when you had Zoe, week 40, 42, whatever. How did that shift?
Yeah. So I'll tell you though, one of the misconceptions, not misconception, but one of the things that I think coaches can target a little bit more during the first 3 months is the fear of miscarriage. What you guys do is you guys say, not much needs to be adjusted because, you are physically, nothing looks different, right? But emotionally and internally, everything is different. The minute you find out you're pregnant, you're doing everything you can to preserve this pregnancy.
Correct. Yeah.
So there are things like elevating your heart rate, not getting your internal temperature too high, making sure that you are drinking enough and pacing yourself. So that was really hard for me because I don't know how to pace myself. I'm either like, I want to do this workout wholeheartedly or I don't do it, right? And so that was something like I had to learn to kind of balance. And so I think coaches can do a better job of like, hey, yes, you're pregnant. Physically, you don't have to alter your burpees, but maybe you don't want to do as many. Maybe you shouldn't be doing as many because you shouldn't be pushing yourself right now. And giving like the athlete a little bit more comfort knowing that we're thinking about this for you. Because the minute you find out you're pregnant, your whole life is different.
Of course. Yeah. You're it's like, well, it's kind of like this. I talked to other moms about this and I tried really hard with Crystal with this one, through this one. And she just like could not stop. But I was like, dude, like imagine, cause she used to compete. So I was like, hey, like imagine that you're training for a comp, except that now this comp is your baby and your job is to deliver like a super healthy baby while taking care of yourself, I think the sentiment that we were trying to say is like, you don't need to change the movement. The library of movements that you're doing doesn't need to change. But absolutely, in terms of intensity and effort, like all those things can definitely can and should be adjusted for sure.
Yeah. Like even for example, like burpees, you can still do it, but do I want to slam my chest like onto the ground and then like jump back up? Probably not. So there's like, and sometimes it's not even like. Scientifically, maybe there's no basis to it, but mentally,
that's how you feel for sure.
Whatever. And so the first 3 months was really about just getting movement and getting the blood flow in because you were so nauseous too. And so for me my goal was I knew if I moved in the morning, I wouldn't feel as nauseous. But if I didn't move, my nausea started earlier. And it was more manageable for me to, and also I was like, okay, I knew I was going to get nauseous in the afternoon. So I would go work out in the morning. So at least I know I'm going to get some movement in. And then later on, it was more about like just moving. It was like trying to move, trying to like do what you can. I remember rowing with a belly and it was not really rowing. Like at one point you couldn't row anymore because the compression with the bladder and everything, it just like work,
Okay. So those are some adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Different movements, less intensity, but I didn't adjust how frequently I came. I still came like 4 times a week. It's just, there are days where I felt better than others. And there were days where I could probably put in like 80%, where the other days I was like, I'm just going to walk because I can.
Yeah. They actually talked about that a lot at this Birth Fit seminar that I went to. It was like the thing with your hormones kind of shifting around, right? It's like you might walk in the gym and it's like typically it would be, so, Thursdays are like more of a light day for us programming wise, but sometimes your body doesn't really match that, even though the programming is there because your hormones are just jumping, right? And it's like that day normally pre-pregnancy, that would be the day that you have an active recovery. But for whatever reason, that day is just like a day that you feel super strong and like are ready to PR or something.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's just so like, it's an intangible that is not normal outside of pregnancy,
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had Finn obviously prior to coming to us. And then did you feel like training helped you throughout your pregnancy? And if so, how?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I had actually a C-section with Finn.
Okay.
So I had a C-section with Finn and it took me a long time to engage my core again. With Zoe, I actually had a natural birth, which was my goal. And so I think, part of it is your body responding, but part of it is also just like
that's really rare. You know that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so
doctors like usually like that's a no. Yeah,
just being like training and that kind of thing. But what I was going to say is I needed to also manage my sugar levels because I was borderline
gestational diabetes.
Yeah. And so I was like borderline, and with Zoe I was just like craving like sugar all the time. And so I needed that to kind of help me balance. So I never got to gestational, and I think some of it is just staying active. And you also have a toddler to run around, so you have to stay active. You can't just like sit on your ass and be pregnant. You have to stay active, move around. I was still bathing the kids, taking them to the park, holding him, and all that stuff. And so it was still necessary for me to be fit.
Do you feel like you had, I mean, obviously, I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it and let you answer it anyway. But do you feel like those two pregnancies were very different pregnancies?
Yes and no. I stayed active with Finn too, much more active than I say maybe like the normal like lay person, but I didn't do as much strength training for sure. With Finn, I just ran. Like I ran a ton. And then when I couldn't run anymore, I would just do like aggressive like uphill walks. But I didn't do as much strength training. And it's hard to compare the two because one was a C-section. So the recovery was completely different.
Yeah.
So I think I have a difficult time comparing both. Yeah. I did gain more weight with Finn than I did with Zoe.
Okay. It's good to know. What do you feel like was the hardest part of being pregnant?
Oh my God.
Everything.
I mean, to be honest, I had pretty easy pregnancies. Yes, you were big and stuff like that, but I wasn't that person that needed help getting up from the chair. I wasn't one that couldn't, like if I sit down, I'm gonna get back up. I didn't have to roll out of bed or anything like that. And I really attribute all of that to just staying active. Like, I'm able to. I didn't do anything differently apart from the fact that I had to hold a bigger belly. Like there wasn't anything that really like limited me. I think I went hiking at like 38 weeks pregnant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was funny. At 40 weeks pregnant.
I was talking to Ben, who is, he's the PT at the gym, and his wife just had a baby. So they have a 2-week-old right now.
Oh, nice.
And
we haven't seen him.
Yeah. So we've got he has a 2-week-old, and we're just talking, and it's funny because like he was saying how like, he feels like Naomi was a champ through pregnancy. And I kind of mentioned that to Diana, and I was like, oh, shit, I shouldn't have mentioned that. That was a mistake. Because she was like, oh, really? Your opinion from your male friend who's never carried a baby. Okay. And I'm just like, yes.
And some people have really hard pregnancies. Like, and some people have easy ones.
Yeah. And so, but that's the thing is like, I'm always going to be on the opposite side of that spectrum. One, I'm like, but yeah, like if you were already active, I feel like it makes a difference on how you feel. And I was saying that it's like, it's going to make it easy, but it's like, she was miserable from like the beginning of the second try, as in like, she just felt super uncomfortable. And I don't think that would ever change because I think she would be uncomfortable, but it's just like, you can't argue the science of like, if you're in better shape, you will handle something like, you're just going to handle it better in general. Like if you had to take if you took you as a person, you took two scenarios, like A, you're in better shape, B, you're not, like the better shape was always going to be better, So but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole with her. So
yeah, I would say that is true too. I would say that, I don't know, it's hard to compare because my pregnancies were pretty okay. And again, I was active, I didn't have any people like, oh, I can't get comfortable to sleep. I always slept. Yeah. I mean, you have a belly, it's uncomfortable, but my joints didn't ache. My hips didn't ache.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked to her too. I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember, but with with Harper, you were freaking going on walks, dude. Like you were going on walks all the time. And like, I think you felt better because of that. Like, but I'm not going to push into it. And I think, so I'm pretty excited for, she's going to go on maternity leave like in 2 weeks. And I think she'll, like right now, she's a working mom. Like that's freaking hard.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you want to take off earlier and just like, we can go for walks during the day and stuff like that. Like I remember she felt a lot better when she was doing that, but now with 2 kids and being pregnant and like I do drop off, but she does pick up like probably like 3 days of the week. And I could tell those days, like we're getting like a family, like one of those wooden Etsy signs made right now. And I got the design back and I was like, hey, can you give me some feedback on this before I send it back to the designer? She goes, I don't want to talk about that until the weekend. And I was like, damn, you're tired, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, you're tired, man.
Yeah. I mean, pickup is exhausting. Like I'm holding Zoe on one arm, trying to like not get, holding, and then I'm holding backpack. So I'm like literally like
it's a lot of work. Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And then pickup is 2 different schools too for us. So,
oh man.
Yeah. So it's unload too. It's load, unload.
Do after school.
She does, but we're not gonna let her be in that anymore. And I don't like it.
Is it right at school?
It's right at school.
You don't like it? Why?
Just a few different things that I don't like about it. Number one, they eat shit. Like they give them like shit snacks.
Like what?
There's a list. Like they give, like I'm the only parent that's asked for it, and they made a list for me so I could read what it was. And she's like, we let the kids choose. So you could either like circle the ones you're okay with them eating, but I can't guarantee that they won't eat the other ones. Or you just say your kids don't eat the snacks. Like basically lie to us and tell us they have an allergy. You can pack your own. And I was like, okay. But it's like Rice Krispie treats, gummy bears. It's junk. Like it's straight junk. Red Vines. No, like I see gummy bears is the only candy. Fruit snacks. They do fruit snacks a lot. They're not doing like freaking like Skittles. But it's like, it's enough where I'm like, no, we don't eat that at my house. So like, we're not, so Harper knows, she knows, but it's like, I know that I think she abstains from telling us the full truth of what she's eating at school. Cause like, she doesn't eat her lunch sometimes. Cause like, I know she's like waiting for some snacks after school.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So it's like, so I know what's happening. So that's probably one thing that bothers me a lot. The other thing is like, I think it's not like they don't really watch your kids. Like when I watch my kids, like I'm not just like in the room being like, I'm not just a body in the room. I'm like watching, making sure that they're like conducting themselves a certain way. Like, hey, like you don't talk to your brother like that, right? It's free reign until something bad happens, right?
So it's daycare.
It's daycare, yeah. It's because of the ratios. And at that age, there starts to like, so Harper's, one of her friends tells her like just stuff about like monsters and stuff like that. So it affects her sleep at night. And I'm like, that's annoying. So I'm literally like, well, why don't you tell her? My daddy says that's not real. Like, why don't you tell her that? Mm-hmm. And my daddy says that's not real and that you're not like, that's not true. And I was like, just tell her that, see what she says, Just stuff like that. I don't know, like she's really dirty when she gets home. Like it's just there's a combination of things that I don't like, but it is very convenient. It's on campus. I mean, it's part of it is like, I'm not sure that I love Harper's class. Like, it's just her whole class in general. Right. It's like, she's going to this grade. So next grade, they're going to go to kindergarten and I'm going to be able to see like what it's like. And then if I really don't like it, I'll consider switching her school or like pulling her out. But at the end of the day, like it's school is school. Right. And it's like, it's more about how you raise your kids, like as a parent, than it is about like that environment is a lot of hours. But if I can make it shorter and spend more time with like us, then I'd rather have her do that. So she's not going to be going next year.
Okay, I see. And what time? It's like 2:55 dismissal or something.
Yeah, so she's really there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. Yeah, but it's like in those 2 hours, like sometimes she's had some bad run-ins that at the same time, like I'm not trying to like raise like a baby. Like I don't want her to be super soft either. But it's like there's just certain things where it's like, for example, like I think I told you this where Diana took her to one of her friend's birthday parties, and then the mom walks out, and so she has the birthday girl's brother is very disruptive. Everyone at school knows he's very disruptive, and it's because the mom, like she walks out, she goes, "Hey, stop doing that! I ain't raising no pussy." right? And he's like 6. And he's like, okay, when you say that in front of your kid and other like people, how does your kid feel? Embarrassed. And then she literally looks and she goes, don't be a little bitch. And it's like, I'm okay with like my kid not hanging out with your kid. You know what I mean? It's like,
like there's one kid at preschool that is disruptive. He's just like very like, he hits, he throws stuff, and you know, that kind of stuff.
Always go back to the parents, man. It's like,
yeah, but I mean, like, I haven't, you know, had that kind of experience yet, but I guess it's common at public school.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude. So do you guys think of public school? It's prison gen pop, dude. It's everybody's there, right? So it's like, as much as you want to like shield your kids, at the same time, that's just reality. Like, you know, you think about like,
but she's in Arcadia, right?
What?
Harper's in Arcadia.
She's in Arcadia, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just reality. This is just reality. This is just how people are. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, but I think this is the thing that you don't realize is like, for example, like you go to Reason, right? You go to our gym. We have a very specific culture at Reason that does not exist at many CrossFit gyms, right? Why? Because we work very, very hard to protect it. Like, that's just like, it's part of like there's a reason why we only have 100 something members. Like, we could easily have 3x the members, but we don't want that. Like, if it was just about money, like there's way easier ways to make money. You know what I mean? But we care way more about the culture than just getting bodies in, you know, and because of that, it was not going to attract a particular type of person either, you know? So it's like all that stuff goes through, like, I mean, this is all like the stuff that Luke has to deal with now, right? So it's like, he's essentially the front line of like, you know, they have a criteria that they follow. It's like, hey, like, we only want a certain kind of person. It sounds kind of like a cult, I know, but it's like, huh?
You want to screen certain type of people.
Yeah, like I don't want like douchebags at our gym. And it's like, if you think about it, like, we don't have any.
Yeah.
That's like, when's the last time you went to a gym and you didn't see a douchebag at a gym? Like it's like synonymous in fitness, right? And it's like, if you look at the internet, it's like influencers and like, it's super vanity driven, right? And that's just not our culture. So, but that's the world. That's the world we live in. Like, I told Diana, I was like, we got to get our kids ready for it because that's reality.
I know, but at the same time, like, you know, as a mom, you're just like, I want to protect them as much as possible.
Of course, yeah.
Like, we don't say any curse words at home. We don't even use the word stupid because we think that, you know.
So that's the one that we've been dealing with lately. So that her friend Luna likes to go, oh, like, Harper, that's stupid. And then Harper goes, oh, we're not supposed to say that. And she goes, oh, it just means ridiculous. It's not a big deal. Right. And it's like, damn, you're 5 and you know how to like articulate that. Like, that's crazy. Right. And it's like, it's not that like I you know, this is embarrassing. I'm not proud of this, but like, you know, one time Luca poured a bucket of water over Harper's face while they're taking a bath. She got pissed, right? Because it got in her eyes and went in her nose and stuff like that. And she like screams, and Diana walks. She's like, what's going on? And then I walk in the bathroom. Diana goes, guess what Harper just said? And I'm like, what? And she goes, well, she just said that Luca poured water on her face and it got her all fucked up. She was like this. And I'm like, well, she kind of used it correctly, right? Like, she used it pretty good context. You gotta give her credit for that. But it's like, I wasn't like proud, but I was like, she didn't like say it. She didn't say fuck you, Luca. She said, it got me fucked up. It's like, it's pretty good. Like, I was like, in context, that's, you gotta, you know, she knows how to use her words. You know, it was fucked up. You know, that's messed up. And her now she says her nose is all fucked up, which is true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not thinking that's like, so it's like in her most anger, she repeated something that she heard probably in context, used it really well, but it's not part of her regular vocabulary, you know? So it's tough. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, I don't want her. It's like, so when she does say something stupid over, I go like, hey, Harper, I think there's a better word for what you're trying to say. It's just like when people cuss mindlessly, you're like, it's not that it's bad, but it's just like, there's just better words. Like, you just sound kind of dumb.
Yeah. Sorry, we're way off track.
Sorry. We're way off track.
It's just school stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the hardest part. What did you love most about being pregnant? If there was anything that you loved?
Knowing that I could do everything I can to protect them right now.
Okay.
You know, nothing else can harm them.
Mm-hmm.
and like just feeling like you're growing a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Got it.
it's
Yeah.
not a feeling that you can ever, like, sometimes I still get phantom like kicks. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like you think something is kicking.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's crazy because it's been like years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you remember like what it was like and
Yeah.
they first like kicking, and you're never ever going to feel that again.
Until you feel it again.
No.
What did support look like for you throughout your pregnancy? Did you feel supported? And
Yeah. We had, my mom came, we had family. Honestly, like the pregnancy was really hard the first few months because you're nauseous and you have to take care of a toddler. And then the last month, because you're really big. And so there's certain things that it's just harder for you to do when you're taking care of a toddler. If it was first time pregnancy and you didn't have anyone else to take care of, then, do what you will. It's not a big deal.
What do you feel like people did to support you through it?
I think people are really encouraging. It's like at the gym, helping kind of tailor things based on my needs. And then still like making sure that I was doing them correctly in a way that was going to maintain like, form and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that was definitely helpful. And then people just like checking in with me.
Cool. Same thing with family, like kind of the same.
Checking in, seeing how we're doing, seeing if there's anything we need.
Yeah.
Helping with the kids' baths and stuff like that.
Cool. What advice would you give to soon-to-be moms that want to continue training during the pregnancy?
I would say listen to your body. If you feel good, go for it. If you needed a rest day, allow yourself that.
What advice do you have for moms who claim they don't have time for exercise?
Do you have time to watch Netflix?
Oh, shots fired. Dang, I actually posted something in our, like last week I was posting about, I posted like 4 different tips and one was canceling your TV.
There's a time and a place for it. And I think the hardest part is starting. Once it becomes a routine, it's a routine. You don't even think about it. Like I go to the gym 5 days a week. Yeah. I don't think about it. It's just something that like I have put in place, but also that Lance is supported. Like he drops off the kids in the morning so that I can go to the gym. If I had to drop off the kids every single morning and go to the gym, then maybe it's going to look different. So it requires like, it's a team effort, family effort,
For sure. It goes back to values, right?
Yes.
Like, so one thing I noticed was like Diana this year, she was like, I would like to try to fit my old jeans. I was like, oh, you still have them? And she was like, yeah, like, I think that's something that I want to kind of work towards. And I was like, that's amazing because you couldn't even really say out loud what that was before. But what we did in the beginning of, at the end of last year, was we wrote down like our family values on this paper that I still have, right? And I wrote down like, there's all these things. And so I wrote down like the most important things. So for us, it's like humility, integrity, generosity, hospitality, and perseverance, right? Those are our 5 pillars. But then how does that fit within our faith, our family, our finances, our fitness, and freedom, and our future? These 6 F's, right? So when it came down to the fitness one, she's kind of actually thinking about it. And she's like, yeah, you know what? Like it's important for you. It's like everybody values fit. What's up?
Your family OKRs?
OKRs?
Yeah. It's like objectives essentially.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like your KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. And it's like, these are all the things that we want to make sure that we hit. And it's like, it got her to actually think about it. And I was like, if you think about it, like you talk to anybody, like nobody would ever say like, let's say we talk about fitness, right? Nobody would be like, oh, like it's not important. It's important to everybody. It's just what action do you like? What is the vehicle for you expressing that importance? And I think a lot of people just don't have one. That's the only thing,
Yeah.
Cool. Do you feel like you're more of you could be both or whatever you want, however you want to answer it. Do you feel like you're more of like a cardio mommy or like a strength training mommy?
Used to be cardio, now definitely strength.
Why do you feel like why that shift?
I see more, the cardio is really boring.
Okay. What do you think of when you think of cardio, the word cardio, by the way?
I think like running, skiing, biking, like that's to me was cardio. And I was in this mindset where I had to do cardio in order to burn calories. But what I didn't realize was strength training can be cardio. Like for example, cycling cleans, like that's cardio and strength.
And you're getting strong. Yeah.
Exactly. So like those things are more effective for the goals that I want. I recently did a post like, I'm like sick of trying to fit into a certain body type of what like society says you should look like or whatever it is. I spent like my whole life dieting or whatever it is doing that. And like for the last 5 years, I really don't give a shit if you think I'm skinny or not or whatever it is.
That's hard to break too, huh? Because that's like, that's a lifetime of
conditioning.
Yeah, conditioning. And then
like also like comments from other people, right? It's like, oh, you don't need to work out so hard. You're already so skinny. But I don't give a shit about being skinny. It's about like how I feel. And so I think that's what it is. It's about just feeling strong and feeling like I can, in an emergency, lift up both my kids and run, Like if there were a kidnapper chasing us, I'd be able to lift both my kids. I'd be able to run and I'd be able to like get away.
100%.
And not like,
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. What do you feel like is your least favorite exercise?
Anything overhead.
Anything.
I have like, with being a mom, there's a lot of movements that you do just caring for a child, like breastfeeding, especially. I breastfed both kids until they were 2. And so there's a lot of holding like this. I don't know if you can see my arm, like cradling. And so my shoulders, and I also work at a desk job, And so anything overhead is really hard because I just don't have the mobility. And that's why I've been trying to like mobilize them a little bit better. But anything overhead is just really hard.
That's a really good insight.
I'm not using my muscles correctly in order to do so, and it's just going to lead to injury.
That's really insightful because I don't think I've ever seen a mom mention that, like ever. So I heard them mention this, but never how it affects like everything else and how you have to be more cognizant of that, right? So that's really good. Do you have any like mental tricks that you use when you just don't feel like working out?
Just go there. Just show up. You can't leave after you show up.
Okay. So
there's so many days where you show up and you're like, I really don't want to do this, but you just don't think about it. Just go, and then you'll move through it. So you're still doing more laps than the person sitting on the couch.
Exactly. Like you're still doing more than you would have if you were just sitting at home thinking about not wanting to go, right?
And it's not all or nothing. Sometimes, some days you just need to move, and maybe that's your goal for that day, right? Yeah. Just moving. And some days you can go all out. Yeah. There are days where I'm like, you know what? I'm way too tired for this. I'm just going to use an empty barbell. And that's okay because you're still using an empty barbell as opposed to sitting. Yeah.
That's a lesson that I had. Took me a long time to learn. Like in my 20s, like just especially with CrossFit is like, I'm only used to sending it. Like, so it's like, if I'm not sending it, is it even working? No, it's that all or nothing mindset could be really toxic. Like, what's your go-to snack food if you're still snacking? You share good ones and bad ones, or whatever you like. There's no like right or wrong answer.
It really depends on my cycle. I know this sounds weird, but like if I'm craving salty, then lately I have been what have I been doing? I've been doing these like chicken sausages
for snacks.
Because
let's go, dude.
I really don't snack anymore. So like just now I had 2 egg bites and then I had 4 sausages because in the morning I only had a banana. If I'm craving something sweet, I'll probably do yogurt or granola. I have like a piece of dark chocolate here and there.
You like the dark chocolate, yeah.
Yeah.
Are the egg bites, this is random, but are the egg bites the Costco ones?
Yeah.
They are?
Yeah.
You get the egg white or the regular ones?
The egg whites.
I had the egg white ones. They're pretty good.
Yeah. They're really good, but the problem is how high fat they are.
Here's my only thing is, man, like I still like the Starbucks one more, and I think it's the oven. I think it's the way they heat it. Because like when I do it at home, it's kind of like soggy, and then the one at Starbucks is like it's got this crunch on the outside. It's got this crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like $6 for 2 eggs. And I'm like,
yeah.
Cool. That was great. Is there anything that you want to add just any notes or anything that like is there anything that you want to add? It's kind of the last question.
I guess like be mindful of how loose your joints get when you're pregnant. So don't overstretch. Because your ligaments are all over the place. I know someone because their ligaments were their hip popped out of like when they were getting out of bed. But also, I don't think they were a very fit individual. But still, your ligaments are just so like loose
to make space. Yeah.
Be mindful of like how much you stretch or your movements and stuff like that.
Cool. That's really helpful. All right, that's kind of it.
Don't forget to subscribe and share, guys.
Follow us on Instagram at Finding Reason Podcast. Talk to you guys soon.